Welcome back to the Well Within. I'm your host, Jen Potter, and I am joined by Commander-in-Chief Travis McGinnis. Thank you so much for being here. Prior to, we were talking a little bit about empowering the Indigenous community. The problem that some of our audience is facing is that there's systematic challenges, and it often feels like their voices aren't heard. Travis, what are some key challenges that you believe the Indigenous community face today?
Well, just to start with, you know, um, you know, starting with this, putting the best foot forward and saying that we need to work together. The colonizers and the Red Nations need to be in a place of engagement, good engagement, and true reconciliation, and truth and reconciliation. And but where this all stems from is when we signed treaty, there wasn't no true engagement those days. We were in a time where there was a lot of hurt and oppression and racism and the systematic, uh, generational, systemic racism was done to us from the time of contact, from the time of treaty. And it rolled on into the smallpox, it rolled on into residential school. So we've learned how to systematically, be hurt and get hurt. And we've brought that into our communities to do that to one another. And our nations, a lot of our nations, and I'm fortunate that I'm not one of those families that lost our ways. I was raised with, traditional grandparents on both sides. My mom is from the Treaty 6 territory, which is 4 and 5 hours north of here, a great Cree tribe called Sad Lake Cree Nation. And my grandfather was one of the chiefs, hereditary chiefs that fought for the red paper for the Cree Nation. And here in the south in Sutina, my great grandmother, her little brother was the last hereditary chief. Bessie McGinnis she was the very first McGinnis. And the McGinnis name came from her Cree father, who was a war chief from the Battle River in Saskatchewan. And she was born as a Crowchild Big Plume. And, we have these great lineages of leadership out here in northern Turtle Island, is what the old people call it, Turtle Island, because North America looks like a turtle. And it stems from contact, but it's our traditional ways is where you heal. We as Indigenous people, the ones that have the ceremonies, the natural laws is what we call them. That's the constitutional word for our people. Before settlers ever came, we had our own laws. We had our own constitution, and it was natural law. And all of that carried, our membership, our health, our education, everything that you can think of that you have in your country, the USA, the White House, everything that the Canadian government has in Parliament, we've had as well. But the only thing was we're naturally orientated to the land and to the constellation, to the stars, to the sun, to the moon. We know the order, and we knew that we come from the sun, which is why we had Sundance. So these are just a few things that I want to highlight and let you know it stems from contact. And it's going to take more generations to heal, to get back to where we were. We just got to keep maintaining these practices and try our best to move forward, which is why I work in energy, because we as Red Nations believe that we're all energy. We all have a spirit. And that spirit is what helps us move forward. That energy, and it's well known and it's documented around this world by scientists, modern day scientists. When you put limitations on energy, you're putting limitations on humanity. I have people that I speak to in Saudi Arabia. I have people that I can speak to in foreign countries and done business and had meetings, globally. So when it comes to energy, I'm very well versed. So I just want to say these are a few things, where we have lacked, but I just want to touch on, a few positive as well. Jen, thank you.
So, Travis, how does natural law energy aim to support and uplift your community and the communities around you?
One of the things that we aim for is to ensure that, we're walking the right path. And for us to do that, we always get guidance from our ceremonies and our elders before we did any type of energy agreement or any energy aggregating nations and different nations that were involved. We went to the ceremonies, and the natural law is a constitutional word. And I don't know if I mentioned that prior to this, but it's our way of and our understanding of following the natural laws. The natural laws are our ceremonies, our sun dances, our sweat lodges, just to name a few. And we always went back to the natural laws for guidance. So when the KXL, the Keystone Pipeline, was coming through our traditional territories, I was asked by industry to amalgamate the nations that were involved. And I have that right as a chief feather hat headdress carrier and keeper of the ceremony, and being, part of the elected process too. Like I said, before we had the democratic process that was brought to us, we had hereditary leadership, hereditary chiefs, and that's the original way of leadership in our territories. We went to the leaders of the ceremonies, the Sundance chiefs, and we had ceremony. We asked, because pipelines were very contentious, we asked for permission, but it was told to us by our old ones and the sacred ones that, we have to be and take part. Why? If not us, then who? It's going to happen no matter how we look at it. So we got to be there. We got to make sure that we're asserting our jurisdiction, because we're the right holders of the hereditary lands, the jurisdiction and traditional landowners of these hereditary lands. We hold the rights to them. So we have to take part. We have to ensure that everything that happens on our lands, 2 countries were made from our sovereign lands. And how do our Indian people, the Red Nations, live today? They live in poverty. So we need to put our best foot forward, both societies, the one from the US as well as the one from Canada. We need to put our best foot forward and help one another. These countries were made, off our traditional hereditary lands as well as our resources. So it's time for us to sit at the table and to bring the natural laws, because natural laws are God creator given laws, but they're also God creator protected, which is why, our people are still here today. When the settlers first came from the Vatican, they had an obligation, and they were told they were able to extinguish anything that wasn't civilized in their thoughts and their minds. But they didn't know us, and instead they went wild with that doctrine of discovery document that came from the Vatican. So, there's a lot I can go on, but we just need to have a better and healthier place to live. What I was taught was when you put limitations on energy, you're putting limitations on humanity. The Stone Age didn't stop because of lack of stones. It's the evolution of time. And we, as human beings, have to try for modern day medicine to help our loved ones heal. And it's energy that helps all of this evolution process get greater for all humanity in the future. So I say with great respect to all the Indigenous people, Red Nations, we're not here to sell it. We're here to try to bring a better lifestyle home to our people. And it's an everyday fight. It's a 500-year resistance for some of our nations because we want a better lifestyle for our people. We're not anti-oil and gas. We're anti-poverty. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I apologize. So you have a lot of beautiful information that you shared with us. So thank you so much for all of that. And like I said before, you paint this beautiful picture. And how can individuals who are listening to the show today get a hold of you or learn more about your community and how they can be involved?
So first of all, they can call me at 403-801-0145. That's a Southern Alberta phone number, area code 403. And they can go on to the website, naturalenergy.com. And also my email is travis.m@naturalenergy.com. So, there's some ways to communicate.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for being on our show today. And I look forward to our future conversations.
And thank you, Jen, for your time, and everybody that's watching. I say all of this with great respect and honor to every viewer, especially our Red Nations, letting them know that we've always gotten guidance, not just from one elder, but from many different locations in Western, what they know as treaties 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, as well as unceded territories in BC. So it's not just one location, one nation. I represent a lot of the chiefs that I work with. As an aggregator and negotiator, we got invited from Canada, from the deal that we did with the Keystone Pipeline. We created Natural Law Trans Mountain Corporation, who was invited by Canada, who gave us the golden letter. There's 129 nations that are involved with that Trans Mountain deal. And we were in one of the First Nation companies that were invited to help negotiate it and aggregate the nations to one company. And there's another First Nation company out there, but we want to work with everybody in a good way and try to ensure that our sovereignty is taken care of, as well as our essential needs and our culture and our practices. Natural laws leading the way. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.
You too. We'll talk again.
Thank you. Thank you.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.